Hello and welcome to Food for Thought, Insights for Busy Leaders and Managers in just 150 seconds. Today I'd like to talk about the paradox of communication. And if we think of a paradox as two contradictory statements which are seemingly opposite but in fact both true, they may be contradictory but they're both true. If we think of the paradoxes of Dr. Dan Harrison, the behavioral paradoxes that he's developed, we can look at two traits, two behaviors that seem to be contradictory and opposing one another, but in fact when they come together are synergistic and form a new, more powerful behavior. So if we look at the behavior of Frank, what we can see is someone who is very forthright, direct and to the point, and they value being honest and saying what needs to be said. However, they can come across, if they don't have matching diplomacy, they can come across as blunt. That means they won't be heard, they won't be listened to properly because people will be finding it difficult. They'll have their emotions stirred up and therefore won't be able to hear what's being said. But likewise, if we've got someone who's very high on diplomacy but low on frankness, they can be seen as evasive. They can be seen as saying a whole bunch of stuff, but people will go, well, what's actually being said here? What's the point? And they may even find that the person is trying to hide something, so they may distrust that person. So high diplomatic people with low frankness can be perceived as not telling the truth or hiding something. So what we need is we need to be able to have high diplomacy and high frankness, giving us forthright diplomacy. Now there's an interesting dynamic here with these paradoxes, is that if I'm very high on diplomacy and low on frankness, I'll demonize frank people. I'll call them rude and not like them, and I certainly won't want to have that behavior myself. However, if stress builds up and my style of diplomacy doesn't actually get the results I'm getting, I'll get stressed and actually will flip into bluntness. I'll become the very thing I don't want and go, damn it, this is what I mean. And other people who are very frank, and they'll find that maybe their style isn't working, low on diplomacy, and people aren't really getting it and they're shying away or whatever, they're not getting the point. They might then sort of go, well, I've said my bit, I'm not going to participate in this communication anymore, or just suit yourselves, or avoid the communication. And they'll therefore say things that are evasive. And of course, if you're low on both, you'll end up in an avoids communication situation. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to consider your own styles. And when it comes to communication, stay curious.